Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Runners Roundtable. Season 4 is all about inspiring. Okay, well, that's where we're at today. It's all about inspiring female runners. And today I'm joined by Kate Kachman, and I'm so excited to have you here because, as I told you before we started recording, and there's my dog coming in to say hello. I've been following you on Instagram for a while, and I feel like when I joined Instagram, everyone was figuring it out. And I feel like we got more of the reality of people's lives. Like it was messier. And I just
Yes.
loved the chaos of Instagram in the beginning. And then somewhere along the timeline of Instagram, and I'm very guilty of that, the pictures started to get very curated, very perfect, very posed. And again, I'm guilty. If you go through my Instagram, back when I shared more of my yoga practice, it was very nice yoga pictures. And now I feel like we're kind of swinging back to people being a little more honest, a little more vulnerable, and more truthful with where they are with their training, where they are in life, where they are with their bodies, with their mental health. And that's what drew me to you. So I was like, oh, let me message her and see if she'd be open to being on the podcast, because you do share so openly and powerfully. Like it's not just that it's vulnerable what you're sharing, but it is so powerful, which then becomes very empowering for the person who's
Thank
receiving it.
you.
Like when I read it, I'm like, okay, like I'm not going to be, I'm not going to, whatever negative cycle I have going on in my head, I'll put a pause to it, because we're all going through something, right?
Yes.
So before we get into what you share in specific, can you just introduce yourself and tell us how you got into the sport of running? Now, I know you do other things, but
Yes.
how did you get into the sport of running in specific?
Okay, of course. So, hi, everyone. I'm Kate, Kate Kachman, and I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to a family of non-runners, a sport family, but we did not run. We did every other sport possible. And I was officially that girl who would fake being sick to get out of gym class. I got a doctor's note that I was allergic to chlorine one year for swim class. I mean, the whole shebang, right? And then in 2009, I was living in Florida. I was going to UCF, go Knights, and I was dating a boy whose sister was really into this stuff, triathlons, 5Ks. I'm sorry, sister-in-law. And she said, hey, do one with me. And I kid you not, it was the Track Shack Watermelon Run in 2009. And I showed up in like my softball slider shorts because I didn't know what else to wear. A pair of tennis shoes from Dick's Sporting Goods. No offense, Dick's, but a pair of old Nikes. And I stood at that start line and I took off running. And this woman who knew I had never run before said, what are you doing? You can't do that. You need to slow down. And she didn't say it meanly. She said it supportively. And it was so amazing that this woman who I'd met 5 minutes before a race was kind enough to open up to me and say, listen to your body, take your time. And I remember doing the 5K, the Watermelon Run 5K. It was like 46 or 48 minutes, right? And I just remember thinking, okay, that was kind of fun. I liked passing the finish line. And that was, to go old school, long before medals existed. I've ran races long before you got a medal at every finish line. And it was still this like really good feeling of, hey, I got a nice workout in. And from there, it just spiraled. Within a year, I was doing Ragnar with a team of people I worked with. That was amazing. And as you know, I jumped into triathlons. The funny thing is, shortly after I got into this running, the boyfriend I was with broke up with me, and I found solace in these long runs. I found solace in I wasn't sitting at home by myself sad because I could put on my shoes and go out. And um I didn't need a man at that time because I could just go for a run by myself and I didn't have to check in with anyone. And it was very nice and empowering, and he made absolutely the right decision. I was not anywhere near mature enough for that relationship, but it felt good to not sit at home and be sad by myself. I just went for a run.
Okay, so we're going to fast forward because you are no longer a single person. You are
No.
you're partnered up and you have a child.
Yes,
So is running still that space of solace for you? Like, is it still that
absolutely.
space where you can come to? Because I started running consistently after I had kids, and in a similar vein, what really hooked me to running was the freedom to just be Steph and not be wife, not be mom, not be someone that something is needed from. How did you make that transition with making sure running stayed a priority, or if not, that the door to running was always something that you could open at any point in time, even as you've gone through your life's transitions?
I have the worst answer because I have not done a great job prioritizing myself. And the answer is a running stroller. For the first 4 years, my son could have run dopey with me. That's how much he trained with me. But it was easy when they can't talk back and they can't fight you. They just get in the stroller and you give them some Cheerios. My son has run 10 plus miles with me in the stroller because whatever. He liked the breeze and it was fun, and he was an outdoorsy kid. As he got older and started to vocalize not wanting to do that, I suffered. And I know I suffered. I suffered horribly because I'm the mom, right? And the problem is, I didn't prioritize my 5Ks to Blake's Ironman because in my head, he's doing an Ironman. That needs so much more time and attention, and he needs focus and he needs I have to make sure I put a well-balanced meal on the table every night for him because he needs protein and macros and carbs, and he's got to get the right amount of sleep. So I've got to get up with the baby in the morning, and I have to make sure I do bedtime. And I devalued myself solely because of the distance of our training. And I don't think I'll ever forgive myself for that because I can tell you right now, the 5K is one of the hardest disciplines to train for. And everyone's sitting there going, oh, please, we've done marathons. Yeah, I've done a marathon too. You have so much room for error in marathons. You have zero room for error in a 5K. Okay. And they're just getting faster. My 5-year-old runs a 10-minute mile with like little training. So, like, who knows what he's going to do? Um, what ended up happening, this is very deeply personal, but what ended up happening is my husband and I hit a complete roadblock. And I will be open. I tell everyone Ironman almost caused a divorce. I ended up moving out for about 6 weeks. I found an apartment and it was really nice to wake up and go for a run on the weekends. I didn't have my kid. I'm trying to be brutally honest here for all you
No.
moms out there. I get it. I 100% understand and get it because I did not prioritize myself. I degraded my own value and I had to find my own voice, and it came with a partnership. It came with not putting my husband on a pedestal just because he's an Iron Man. It came with, hey, you can have Saturday mornings. You can go ride 100 miles, but on Sunday morning, I'm out that door. I don't want to hear a word. Like, I am out that door on a Sunday morning. And that gave me so much confidence. And so, like, it was great. My Saturdays were my rest day and Sundays were my go hard day. And no one could say a word to me. The weekdays were still a struggle. A lot of my workouts are done on the treadmill, but all I can say for me, learning it was speaking up for myself and making sure that I was heard in my own household, that my workouts are just as important, even if they're not an Ironman.
So, first of all, thank you for sharing all of that. And I was giggling in the beginning because my daughters, I don't know if they were 7 and 5 or 8 and 6, and I was still pushing them in a stroller. I stopped because they exceeded the weight limitation
Yep.
of the stroller. But I was pushing both of them for a very, very long time. And it really does, looking back, I have so much love for that younger version of myself, but I can look back very critically and say, much to what you're sharing, of how easy it is for us to fall into those gender roles. Like
Yeah.
my husband, even to this day, like he goes out and there's no guilt. Like I've tried having conversations with him of like, hey, do you experience dad guilt? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I remember
Nope.
talking to him about mom guilt, and it was the most foreign thing I could talk to him about. I'm like, really? Like, are you living in a cave? Have you never heard of this concept of mom guilt? Like, never. And so I thank you for sharing that, because I've heard stories of people who the Ironman does lead to a divorce because it's
Yeah.
so much time out of the house for such an extended period of time. And just want to say, like, it sucks when you have to advocate for yourself in your partnership, right? Like, that sucks. It
It
really,
does.
really does suck. And I just also want to applaud you for those 6 weeks where you were like, mm-mm, no, 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 because otherwise, guess what? Guess what could have happened? Your son would have gotten older and you would have kept compromising
Yep.
yourself. And in that time, you would have built more and more resentment towards your husband, towards the situation, like towards all of that. Is he your husband? Did I just call him your husband?
Yes, he is
Okay.
my husband.
Okay. Like, let me make sure. But that resentment would have been something that you could have gotten so big, you would have never worked your way around. And yet
Nope.
you figured it out. And as a coach and as someone who's raced 5Ks, a 5K is a lot harder than a marathon. It's a
So
totally
much harder.
different, it's when we think of, you have 26.2 miles to kind of figure things out versus 3.1, right? By the time you figure it out, you're done. So that's incredible. How was that period though, of you like moving back into the house, and were you still training for 5Ks, or did you move back in and you're like, all right, so let's test this out and we're going to train for something bigger? Or were you kind of refiguring things out?
It was I always have a 5K here and there, and a lot of them I sacrifice because I push the stroller. We don't have family in the area. We now officially do since we moved, but in Florida we didn't have family in the area, and mom guilt is not being able to ask your friends to babysit your kid, right? Like, what is wrong with us? But anyways, I know my friend's gonna watch this and go, I volunteered 500 times to watch him.
Yeah,
I know.
it doesn't work that way. It
It,
doesn't
it
work that way.
and nobody understands, like, watching a kid for training means you're at my house at like 6 o'clock in the morning. So when I moved back in, we literally sat down with a calendar and we said, these are my days, these are your days. And it helped a lot, because how many times have you come home and been like, I just don't feel like going to the gym tonight? Well, guess what? If I don't go to the gym tonight, I don't get to go again and it really motivated me to a positive approach, because prior to that 6 week break, we were on a schedule, but it was not manageable. And I mean, I would get up at the crack of dawn, get my kid to the daycare, work all day, pick him up from daycare, get dinner on the table, bathe him. And when my husband came, my husband would take that 5 to 8, that coveted workout slot. When he came home, it was hand off a kid in the pajamas, put him to bed, and I was at the gym for 3 hours till 11 o'clock at night. And then we knew that that wasn't manageable. So we sat down and we said, what is it that you want to do? He was still training for Ironman. I wanted to do a half Ironman. I really wanted that, and I still haven't. We'll get there. But it came down to truly being flexible. And then, unfortunately, my health issues started up. And it was like we had this great plan. We had this awesome approach to what days you would do things, what days I would do things, flexibility, ensuring that those long runs and long bikes were supported. And then all of a sudden, I was missing every one of my Sundays. I couldn't get myself out of bed. I couldn't be on the bike that long. All my workouts were indoors. So then it went right back to, you just go ahead, I'll ride the trainer later. You go ahead, I'll do the treadmill later. And we fell right back into the rhythm we'd been in, which was, I can do everything indoors, but I kind of had to because my lungs weren't letting me go outside. Today, as it stands, He will always check with me before doing a long workout. You know, we have a calendar in the kitchen that specifically says what days I need to be outside. And I'll be completely honest, we're still learning, we're still navigating. And we're still, the most important thing is I'm not just saying yes, dear anymore. And I'm standing up for both myself and my son and making sure I made Blake go to the open house at the school because only one parent could go. I made him go. I said, the school doesn't even know you exist. Get your butt up there, you know, and it killed me because of course I wanted to be at open house. But I'm trying to switch the cultural roles a bit here. And doing so, I'm opening up more chance for me to train.
I got goosebumps with that because it's so hard, right? You just shared it like it's just words and you're telling a story, but I can just feel and imagine the agony of making that choice of, you know, just the guilt, even just the, oh, is he gonna, I know with my husband, it's always the, is he gonna ask all the questions? Is he gonna pay attention? Is he gonna remember when he comes home? And, or even just in my case, maybe similar to you, where it's a lot of the, I call them the like the parenting chores or the available parent. I'm the available parent. So yeah, so I'm the available parent. And if I'm out of the loop, I don't want to say I don't trust my husband to keep me in the loop, but at the
Yep.
same time, because I've been the one that's always in the loop, getting the information is easier for me. Whereas my husband, he gets overwhelmed very quickly when it's a lot of new
Mhm.
information regarding the kids. And I have two girls and thankfully they're older. And it really does get easier when your child is older and they can talk to you and they can remind you of things. Then it's really easier. But I just want to honor that because I know that there are people who listen to this and they feel like if they're not the ones doing it, it won't get done. Or if they're not the ones doing it, it won't get done as well. Or there's even that little seed of doubt that you can trust that your partner is going to do it well enough, right? And
Right.
it's like you got to let go because at the end of the day, what you're sharing and what you're telling us is, hey, you matter too. And if he's doing the parenting stuff, that does open up space. And even in moments like that, I have to remind myself, like, hey, you chose to have kids with this person because you trusted them to take
Yep.
care of your little human. So it's okay to back off. And I just love that because I can just imagine the, or maybe even if you were like texting him or everything
I
okay?
was. I was like, what about this? Did you have? And he's like, oh my God, just come to open house. I was like, I
Yeah.
can't.
Why are we like this? Why are we like this? Because, well, I know why. Society has told us we have to be the ones to do it,
Exactly.
right? So let's kind of go back to, you mentioned the health issues that you had. Where are you with the health issues? What were the health issues, if you feel okay with
Of course.
sharing? And how were you mentally when you were
Oh,
going through? That's a big one.
so this I can get long-winded, so feel free to just interrupt me. But essentially, 10 years ago, I had blood clots in my lungs and they were spontaneous. So because there was no tracks or routes, there was really no known idea they could happen at any time, right? So in 2013, I hit what I would call rock bottom. They told me I couldn't have children. They told me, you know, I probably couldn't be as physical as I wanted to be because I had to, you know, they didn't know why I had these clots. And 10 years ago, that was the best answer. And I spiraled. I got up to 300 pounds. I ate my way out of misery, right? And my husband and I, knowing we weren't going to have kids, we just decided that we'll spend our money on really nice date nights, right? We went to restaurants that I couldn't believe we were eating at, you know, and we had all this great food. Oh my God, food. And looking back, I didn't just destroy my health, I destroyed my husband's health. When you see the pictures of him, and he's 6'4", he can hold some weight. He had a belly, okay? Um, and then I decided that if I was not going to be able to have kids, and this was before from 2013 to after the blood clots to 2020, I didn't have any more lung issues. I just had the obesity, but I figured if I can't have kids, why have my cycle, right? And I got a doctor to agree to sterilize me. But he looked at me and he said, do me a favor, lose a little bit of weight. Only because, and he was so sweet. He was like, it's just a safer procedure the healthier you are. And I said, okay. And I really, and he said, plus, he was so funny. He goes, it's the end of the year. You haven't even used your deductible. Let's do it in January. So we hit your deductible the first month. I mean, he was just the nicest guy, right? I loved him. So I went to a nutritionist, I got on a kick and I started walking. And I mean, I literally walked 100 pounds off. Walk, 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 people. Do not be intimidated by the run. Do not be intimidated by the people out there who pass you. Walk your butt off. Walking will always be better than sitting in front of the TV. I lost 100 pounds. Well, I go back in and I said, you know what? I lost 100 pounds. He goes, great. Did you really want to have a kid? Because we can do it now. And I looked at him and I was like, are you kidding me? He goes, no, but if I told you to lose the weight to have a kid, you wouldn't do it. So if you want, and he looked at me and said, I will sterilize you tomorrow or I will help you have a baby. And I said, okay, let's do the baby route, right? And normal conception took us about 10 months of trying. And I get pregnant and my doctor looked at me and said, don't you dare gain weight. Don't you do that to your son. You give him the best chance you can at a healthy life. You keep the weight off. I gained 21 pounds during pregnancy, which was exactly, what he wanted. Um, and then I decided to breastfeed like a champion, and I gained 40 pounds while breastfeeding. I didn't actually breastfeed, I pumped. And the problem is everyone celebrates postpartum in their own, right? I still remember doing my first 5K postpartum with 3 sports bras on because my boobs were out to here from pumping so much. I pumped 30,000 ounces in 1 year.
Oh, wow.
I donated 14,000 ounces to the local NICU, others to other moms, and moms would call me and be like, I have a friend who heard you pump a lot, and they would come pick up milk from my freezer, but that was my postpartum. Is I stopped walking because I had to pump. I couldn't go for a walk. I had to be on the pump all the time. I pumped 6 hours a day. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. And it was my spiral. It was my mental spiral. Was I just had to keep pumping. I couldn't let these NICU babies down. As soon as my son turned 1 and the doctor said, go ahead and try, if you want, try whole milk, and he took to it, I looked at Blake and said, can I stop? And Blake's like, why are you asking me? Like, you do you. At that time, in perfect synchrony, my sister-in-law had to have her gallbladder out. And if you don't know, the gallbladder diet is incredibly restrictive. So I said, I'll do it with you. I was 240 pounds, and doing the gallbladder diet, I got down to around 160, and I started working out again. I started going to the gym regularly, and I started a new job. And I remember thinking, if I could just lose, everyone has that number, right? If I could just lose 15 more pounds. And I did. And then I started blacking out regularly, because if you don't eat, but you work out 3 hours a day, you black out. But guess what? I looked so good. Oh, I looked so good. And I kid you not, as much as my health problems, I promise I'm coming to the health problems, as much as my health problems hurt me today, if I hadn't had that lung episode in 2020, I probably would, if not have killed myself, I would be in a facility for an eating disorder. I was literally skin and bones. You could see every one of my rib cages down my back. You could see my shoulder blades. And I kid you not, that was when my body dysmorphia started. It was not when I was 300 pounds. And I'm very vocal about that because I like to let people know body dysmorphia does not discriminate. By all logic, I should have had it at 300 pounds. No, I had it at 145. And I literally, looking back at pictures now, am so terrified, because at the time, all I could tell you was I needed to lose 10 more pounds. I needed to tone my thighs. I wouldn't wear certain clothes because I felt people would just see me as so fat. I was literally disappearing. So I have the first respiratory episode, and it turns out I have pneumonia. But unfortunately, it's during COVID and you can't get seen. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit because I've shared a lot of this on Instagram for anyone who wants to go back and see the trials and tribulations. But essentially, I have severe asthma, primarily caused from having those blood clots. 10 years ago. My lung just never recovered appropriately. There's a lot of scar tissue and it just doesn't function. Since being diagnosed with asthma, I have been diagnosed with COPD. I just had 2 doctors reverse that diagnosis. So we don't think it's that. I've been told I have vocal cord dysfunction. Then I had another doctor say I didn't have vocal cord dysfunction. Now I have a third doctor saying I do have vocal cord dysfunction. Everyone is in alignment that I have the asthma, but I got the greatest news possible, which is my 2 current doctors believe it is reversible if we can find out what's causing it. So what have the last 3 years done to my training? Well, first of all, I ran dopey after the severe respiratory attack. Multiple different medications. My training was outrageously hard trying to come up with, and this factored into, I had to find time to train, but I had to find the energy to train, and I couldn't skip my training because if I did, I lost my training slot because I didn't get another training slot. So I really pushed myself. And I'm not saying that that was the best thing to do. From there, after dopey, running has just been downhill. I found out yesterday that I am a 36-year-old woman and my lungs are the lungs of a 66-year-old person. So where am I today mentally? Not great. First time I'm ever saying that out loud. So yay, mental health advocates. I am not doing great mentally, but I will say this. I'm not going to give up. Hold on just a second, because it's not worth it to give up. I don't see running as a burden. Running is a stress relief for me. Running is something that I want to do and I get to do. And until the day a doctor says you cannot, running is good for me. It's not bad on my knees, in case anyone was wondering. Let's just put that out there. I do have a bad knee, but it is not from running. If you didn't know, being 300 pounds wrecks your joints. Just a heads up. So if you carry all that excess weight, you may have trouble with your joints later in life. I can tell you that. What am I doing right now? I'm on a whole new battery of doctors, a whole new battery of tests. And I mean, they're testing for things that I've never even would have thought to test for. And we're going to get answers. And in the meantime, I am walking my butt off. I'm getting out there every day and I'm going for my walks and I'm not going to stop. I can spin you around. I'm not going to stop. We have a gym set up right here. I have no excuses. I'm going to be down here every day if I have to during the winter. I'm not giving up.
Okay. I love everything you've shared, because I guess the question I have, do you feel that you're more supported by the medical establishment today than you were 10 years ago?
100%. When I walked into, a hematologist is the person you see when you have blood conditions. And I looked at her and I was steadily gaining weight. And I said, listen, I go to Zumba, which by the way, Zumba is also, if you need a community, I highly recommend finding a local Zumba because they are amazing. But I was like, I go to Zumba 3 times a week and I dance my butt off. I'm on the stair climber. I'm out walking. I cannot walk up a flight of stairs without stopping at the top to die. And she looked at me and said, what do you want me to do about that? And that was the state of healthcare,
Mm-hmm.
Now I spent 2 hours in an allergist's office. And that's where I was the other day. I was in it, and she did not let me leave until we had a battle plan. And she's like, at the end of the meeting, she said, I asked you the same questions over and over to see if you gave me different answers because I needed to know the honest truth. I said, she goes, yeah, we're there. But I mean, she pushed me to make sure that I was giving her the full answers. I've spent years hiding how bad it was.
Yeah.
I've spent years, and we do that with everything, right? And this woman I was bawling in her office. This woman made me lay it out on the table for her. And you know what? Every time I told her something, she added a different test. And we're going to get down to the bottom of it now because I finally didn't just say, yeah, I'm okay. I'm a little tired, but I'll get through it.
And that's partially being a woman, right? Like
Yep.
so much of it is being a woman. And it's funny because I was actually on a group run last night and we were talking about not so much related to this, but just in general, how women, there's this perception of just a higher pain tolerance. Like we just have to deal with so much more and everything's just fine. And even again, for myself, last week, I had a moment where it was journaling and I was like, do I suffer from toxic gratitude? Is toxic gratitude even a thing? Because there is that, we're almost like talking ourselves out of our own experiences of like, oh, it's not that bad, but it's okay. And it's like, no, it can be bad, right? Like
It
both
can't
things can
be.
be true. It can be bad and it can also be okay. But if we're not even admitting to ourselves that it's bad, there's no opportunity for us to change, right? Like there's no opportunity for us to change or to ask people to help us or to just, what you've been doing here is just advocate for yourself. You can't advocate
Exactly.
for yourself if you're pretending like everything's okay. So I wanted to ask that because I feel like, particularly with women, and again, I went to my PCP yesterday, my annual checkup, and I started off with, okay, can we talk about perimenopause? And initially, my doctor was kind of dismissive of that. She looked at my
Mhm.
age and she's like, no, you're far from menopause. And I was like, okay. I just kind of like let it sit. And then afterwards, and she's like, why do you ask about that? And I'm like, well, I know menopause is one point in time. And I know that perimenopause is actually 10 to 15 years in time. There's a difference. I'm not asking you about menopause, I'm asking about
Exactly.
perimenopause. And afterwards, when I told her some of the things that I was experiencing, she came around to it and was more understanding and told me like, okay, here are the things to look out for, and then we'll run tests. So she came around to it, but that was the first doctor that I saw that was even willing to talk to me about it. And it's like, I don't understand. And I kept telling her, I'm like, I'm just so frustrated because I'm a woman and we don't talk about these issues. We don't talk about how hard, and all of us experience it to varying levels, how hard it is to be a woman in a woman's body in this society, right? Like there's so much that
So hard.
it's so hard. So I'm going to pull us back just because I want to make sure we're all kind of using the same language. In your experience, what is body dysmorphia?
Of course. Um, Body dysmorphia, I'm not a doctor, so I'm going to give you my own personal experience. It is the mental condition of not seeing or believing what is exactly in front of you. It manifests in multiple different ways. It manifests in extreme calorie counting, weighing yourself 6 times a day, eating only based off what the scale tells you, which is horrendous when you're a runner, by the way. Please don't do that. But I did for a long time. Um, it forces you to try to find control in other aspects of your life. So if I couldn't control how I looked, I could at least control how I ate. So I would eat for about a year of my life. I ate nothing, and I would go on court and tell you nothing, but boiled chicken breast, egg whites, fruits and vegetables. I didn't have a piece of bread, rice, potato. Um, I didn't have cakes, sweets, sugars, fried food. I didn't drink out, which I still don't drink alcohol, but I didn't drink alcohol. I didn't eat dairy. But I mean, literally, and I ate a bunch of it. I ate, sometimes 4 pieces of chicken a day. I ate a container of carrots, but in my head, that's what I needed because I could control that. And I would get on the scale and the scale would drop, but I would look in the mirror and I wouldn't be okay. And I would go to the gym for 3 hours because the scales told me to, not because I wanted to, not because my training plan told me to. Today, it's very weird. It manifests itself. And this is one of the most horrible things I do. And I apologize to any woman I have ever done this to. When I am out in public and I see someone who is morbidly obese, I feel like I am the same size as them. And I will go to my husband And I will need him to verbally reassure me that I am not as big as that person next to me. And I don't know that he grasps it, but I will see a woman, and I'm not talking like your average body type. I'm talking morbidly obese. And I'll say, oh my God, do I look like that? And he'll say, God, no. And first of all, you shouldn't say that, Blake. That's mean. They're beautiful no
Yeah.
matter what. But in my head, I am I am as big as I was when I was 300 pounds. And that is all my body lets me see. I am wearing, okay, for the record, also, girls' running clothes do not help body dysmorphia. Let's just start
Oh,
there.
the sizing sucked. Like
Oh my
the
God.
sizing. I will tell you, I'll give this story. My oldest daughter, so she's 13, and I told her, "Oh, let's do a 5K." Or I don't even know how we kind of got into the conversation. And she's like, "Oh, I'll do it if you buy me your shirt." So like it's
Yeah.
one of my team shirts. It's that Runnin' Rabbit brand. And
Yeah.
so I was like, cool. Like she really wanted a team shirt and she wanted it in pink. They had it in pink. And I was like, all right, cool. I gave her this shirt and I told her, try it on. She tried it on and it fit her perfectly. She takes it off. She looks at the tag and she's like, medium. I'm a size medium now. And she had a moment. She had a moment. And I had to tell her, I'm like, who cares? One, but also
Yeah.
like this brand is notorious for running small. Like they are notorious for, at least with the t-shirts. I haven't tried any of their other products. If you listen to this and you love the brand, don't tell me anything. I don't have experience with other products within their line, but I know that with their tops and their shirts, it runs small. And that's kind of what I told my daughter. I'm like, like it's just, first of all, it's a brand that runs small. But afterwards, after that conversation, I was so upset with myself because I'm like, I should have just been like, and you're a medium, who cares? Right? Like
Exactly.
you're a medium, who cares? But there was that moment of panic of like, how can I make this better? And yes. So I just wanted to share that because I totally agree that your sizing, and even in a brand, I won't say the brand, I won't say that particular brand name, but I'm a size 6 in the bottoms for that brand. But when you look at the numbers and how it correlates to small, medium, large, a size 6 is considered a small, but it's just weird. Like the way they do the sizing,
Yes.
it's just okay. So I'm sorry, I had to go off on that tangent because
You get it.
I totally get it. And it's something that I don't even know what the workaround is to that, other than just try the clothes on that feels good and don't worry about the number or the size. Just try on what feels
Exactly.
good and what works for you. Okay, so I digress with that example. Come back to you.
But that is a great thing for body dysmorphia because, so for instance, this is a large, okay, and it's got a nice fit to it. The medium does not fit me, and it's like, okay, when I got it, I didn't even hesitate to order a large because all I wanted was the word that's, I love Track Shack. For those that don't know, if you're in Orlando, Florida, Track Shack, look them up. They've got a great run club, everything. I just wanted the word ambassador. I would have worn a 2XL if it meant getting to wear ambassador, because one of the things that has helped me was finding a community of people that did not care what I looked like or how fast I ran. And I am solidly a mid-pack runner. I am my fastest treadmill half marathon is a 1:59, but it was on a treadmill. My fastest treadmill in person was a 2:16. And because I was guiding someone, and we can talk more about guiding and everything, but I am a solid mid-pack runner. I avoid group runs like the plague because, one, I don't want anyone to see my thighs. I don't want them to see them bouncing or think, oh God, can that girl even run? Let me tell you, I've been out on runs and I've never once thought about that of another runner. So why do I think people think that of me? That's my brain. But I want to just put out there for anyone who has ever gone for a run and thought someone was thinking about them, we're not. We're dying on the inside. We're counting steps, we're checking our breath, we're deciding whether or not we're going to make dinner or go out to eat that night. We're deciding if we should have worn a different shoe. We're doing, you guys talk about girl math. Have you ever tried runner's math? Oh my God.
Yeah.
We are not even thinking about what you look like on the side of the trail. Period. We are not even, it isn't even the top 10 thought in my mind. Yet when I pass somebody, it's suck my stomach in, put my chest out, make sure they can't see my thighs, make sure I'm smiling, who cares if you're hurting during a run? Everyone's hurting. But that's where I'm sitting at is I am hiding on my treadmill because I don't like how I look right now. And no one can see me on my treadmill. And if you hold your camera at a good angle, no one can see you, see all of this. And it's not something I want to raise my son. I don't want to raise my son to, one, think that he should ever not love his body, or two, think that he has any right to comment on a person's body. And he does. He's 5, or I'm sorry, he's
Yeah.
6. But you remember that age.
Yeah.
They don't mean anything negative by it, but I nip it in the bud. And I don't make him feel bad. I just make it aware that everyone's entitled to their own body. And it is what it is. And let me tell you, the fit of your running clothes is so much more important than the sizing because hello chafing. So if you have to go buy a 2XL, who cares? Who cares what the size is? If they're cute and they don't chafe you, wear the shorts.
You know what was one of the things I remember, this is so random, but I remember when I was growing up and I felt like all the girls had really small feet. And I remember, I don't know if you're as old as I am, the Adidas, when the classic Adidas came out, that was when I was growing up and everyone had them. And I wanted the white ones with the silver stripes. And I forced my foot into a size, it was either a size 6 or a size 6.5, because I really wanted the shoe and all the girls around me had small feet and I wanted to have a small feet. Oh, those were very uncomfortable days when I wore those shoes. And it's such a silly story, but I think of that often now because the women that I run with, they're all like, yeah, I wear a size 9, size 8, size 8.5. And I'm like, oh, I wear a size 8 too. Like it's such a, just even something as simple as that, where it took me being around other female runners to kind of heal something small like that of it's okay to wear a big, quote unquote, big shoe size. Like it's totally fine because guess what? My foot, now I know my foot is going to swell. It's going to expand when I'm out there running. It's going to get sweaty. Like I need the space. But it's so interesting how even in a sport where we're moving our bodies and how we perform is so important, we still get sucked back into the how do we look aspect of it. I mean, I had similarly like a pair of shorts that I had bought and I ended up just passing them on to someone and they were technically my size, but they were so tight and so uncomfortable that I'm like, why am I going to squeeze myself into this? And it doesn't feel good. I'm not enjoying myself. I'd rather wear what feels good, even if it means that there is sizing up that's happening, even if it means that I have to give myself that moment of like, why do I even care? Like, what is this actually me that's caring about the size, or is it something else? So I feel you. I hear you. Being a woman's so rough. It's so rough. But I'm curious, and I don't want to push you too much on where you are.
No, whatever you need.
Yeah, no, it's just, I don't want to push you too much on where you are mentally right now. But it seems like you've been in a similar spot of not really liking what you see. How did you get past it in the past? And how are you approaching it right now?
When I was 145 pounds, the smartest thing I did for my body was put 15 pounds on. And I know that sounds crazy, but there's 2 factors. One, take pictures of yourself. I think there's a Schmitz Creek thing. take naked pictures of yourself. Okay. Don't put them online. Don't listen to her at that. But your brain doesn't like you, and your brain decides when it wakes up in the morning how your day is going to be, regardless of how you look. Okay. Don't listen to your brain. My brain is on hyperdrive because it's early release day and I have to get my kid to his physical, and he's going to get a flu shot, which means we're going to have to go out for ice cream after. And guess what? I'm not going to let myself have that ice cream. I'm already at 6 o'clock tonight and it is 9:15 in the morning. So the smartest thing I did when I was underweight was put that 15 pounds on. I was the happiest in my life at 160 pounds. I was fit. I felt good. I was wearing shorts again. And I think it was because I felt good inside, I was able to match it. Unfortunately, we got COVID as a family. All three of us got COVID together. I don't feel that I ever truly got my lung capacity back. And I've gone from 160 to 188. Right now, I have a number in my head, and that number is 10 pounds. And my doctors and I have all talked about it. My doctor told me, she said, do you eat almost whatever you want? I said, within balance. I'm naturally a healthier eater. But it doesn't matter if I calorie restrict or not, I'm not losing weight. She goes, then this is the weight your body's meant to be. And I looked at her and I said, that is fine from a health perspective, but my mental health is not there. And she said, then I will support losing 10 pounds. And she said, if you lose 10 pounds and you can still, she said, but here's the thing, you still have to be able to eat what you want. You have to support your workouts. You cannot restrict your calories to 1,200 a day. Please do not eat 1,200 calories a day as a grown woman. She said, if you promise me that you are not going to do that, then let's put a plan in place to lose 10 pounds. And she said, and if after losing 10 pounds, your brain is still not there, it is not your weight. So right now I'm on a plan to lose 10 pounds safely and effectively. And then from there, I have never seen a therapist. My husband has. My husband was diagnosed with adult ADHD, so probably had it his whole life, but not diagnosed till an adult. He is doing amazing. He's the best he's ever been. He's doing his workouts. He's great. And yet I can't go to a therapist because that's not something that I was ever taught that we do. That's money, right? If mommy spends money on a therapist, where are we going to take it out of the budget? Does it come out of going to a Cubs game? Do we have to scale back on groceries? Does it mean we don't eat out one night? And it's like, oh my God, stop it. Stop trying to stop trying to talk yourself out of getting mental help for whatever reason, right? Because let's say we won the lottery. Well, then it'll be, well, I'm too busy at work. I can't take a day off work. And my boss is the first one going, oh my God, go take a day.
Yep.
My brain has this block against therapists that I have yet to figure out. But I'm doing really well with my health doctors. And I can tell you right now, if after losing the 10 pounds, my health doctor's recommendation is she's going to send me to a therapist. If my brain and my body will not start talking to each other.
Yeah, so I'm incredibly biased when it comes to therapy because that's what I did professionally. That's what I went to school for. And that's what I wanted to do until I realized I can't deal with Medicare, Medicaid, and
yep.
lack of support from the field. And so I'm totally biased because since I was in college, I've always said everyone needs a therapist. Like you just need someone that you can talk to objectively.
And not your girlfriend.
Yeah, because they love you, but whatever. But with that said, I also know it is incredibly hard to find a therapist that is not only culturally appropriate, but is also just appropriate to you and what you're going through that doesn't diminish what you've experienced. So I find that like I'm hearing you talk and I'm like, what comes up for me is just it's hard work to find someone that you can be vulnerable with and that you can trust. Because again, which is why I asked you about that, the medical field, right? Because 10 years ago, if you would have gone to a therapist, one, you probably would have been seeing a man. And two,
Yep.
they probably would have told you something incredibly insensitive, like just get over it, right?
Or
Like
just lose weight. Just
just
lose
lose
weight.
weight. Like it's so easy. And it's like, okay, no, actually now, thankfully, the field has evolved where you have therapists who are specialized in body dysmorphia,
Yes.
specialized in eating disorders. You have therapists who are specialized in working with athletes, right? Like you have your sports psychologists and all of that. So I think I say all that to say you'll get there when you get there. And as
Yeah.
long as you're open to it, then I haven't been talking to you for very long, but even for me, I'm like, I trust that you will do what you need to do in order to get yourself where you need to be, because you sound incredibly motivated to not only be the best for yourself, but also be the best for your son and show him, like,
Exactly.
okay, this is mama, this is womanhood, this is motherhood, this is how we approach life. So I think you'll get there when you get there. But I also like that your doctors are insightful enough to give you the parameter of, all right, let's do the 10 pounds. But if at 10 pounds, your brain is telling you, I need to lose another 10, or I need to do something else, then let's figure out what's actually going on here.
And something I just wanted to add for every woman out there who feels diminished by their weight, you're not alone. I would go to the doc at 300 pounds. I would go to the doctor with a sinus infection and be told it's because you're overweight. I'd be like, okay, well, are you saying my immune system's bad and that's why I'm getting a no, you're overweight. Okay, well, obesity doesn't cause a sinus infection, you know. One time I forget what I did, but I want to say like I broke a pinky finger. It's because you're overweight. Well, no, I didn't fall on it. My body weight did not fall on it. I like walked into a wall, which is pretty normal for me. But please know that you are not alone. Everybody blames obesity for everything. I will tell you right now that after losing 150 pounds, I was the sickest of my life. So take that 300-pound Kate. You were actually doing okay.
And it goes to show you just how much more nuanced it is, right? Like everyone, and again, we live in a really messed up society, because I'm sure when you lost 150 pounds, you were getting so much praise over how good you looked, right? So it's like, okay, how about you check in with me and ask me, like, are you feeling okay? Are you doing
Yeah.
okay? How about that be the first question instead of a wow, you look great? Because it's like you have no clue what I've possibly done to my body to get here. And yeah, so I thank you for sharing that, because that's the question that I was trying to formulate of what would you tell women today? And what would you tell women who are not only struggling with what they see in the mirror, but are also struggling to feel at home in their
Right.
bodies?
First things first, take pictures. And I cannot stress this enough. I and do side by sides. There's a great those apps that do please do it. Do it a lot, because on my worst days, I will go find a full body mirror. I will take a picture and I will put it up against two pictures. I'll put it up against 300-pound Kate and I'll put it up against 145-pound Kate. And guess what? I don't hate what I see at 188 pounds when I look at where I've been. Another thing, stop trying to squeeze yourself into your old clothes. I please. Oh, so I love, for the record, I'm not a brand ambassador or anything, but I love Under Armour leggings. They are hands down the best leggings for tall people. I'm 5'8". They reach my ankles. I hate showing off my lower legs. They're great. I have worn mediums forever. I recently went up to a large. Oh my God, they're so much more comfortable. It's great. Okay. And I'm not advocating just put on a bunch of weight. No, no, no. I'm trying to tell you, your old clothes are old for a reason. Okay. And I'm also very against fast fashion. So, yes, I have some clothing that is very old. Um, if you put it on and 6 months ago you liked how it looked and now you don't, do a few things. One, are you on your period? or are you halfway through your cycle? That's when I go clothing shopping. I only try on clothes when I am halfway through my cycle or on my period, because that way the other 2 weeks I'll love them. Two,
A great tip.
you do not have an airbrusher following you around, and you do not have, if you're like me and you work full time and you raise a kid and you train for races and you generally would like to have a hobby, you don't have time to have a beige house, and you don't have time to have here. I'm going to be brutally honest with you guys. My house is full of Nerf guns. Okay, if you come to my house, you are going to step on a Nerf bullet. But my bathrooms are clean and my kitchen is clean. But there's usually a fine layer of dust. Who cares? Okay, you need to be comfortable in the clothes you wear, and if you want to wear a crop top, wear a crop top, but just make sure it's not chafing you. Everyone knows that those real tight, buy the clothes that fit you, not the clothes that fit the Kardashians, not the clothes that fit the models on the runway. There is a reason that Old Navy is a go-to. They have what we call vanity sizing. I am an extra small at Old Navy in their dresses. Okay, if that's what you need to do, go give yourself a serotonin boost and go buy yourself a small dress from Old Navy. If that's what your brain is saying, if you need it. Otherwise, cut all the tags out of your clothes. Get rid of them, cut them out. I do that quite often. Once I know I'm keeping an outfit and I'm not going to return it, I cut all the tags out of my clothes. It's harder on this stuff where they print it. I get it. But I put on an outfit, and if it doesn't feel right, I take it off. Okay. I don't care if you planned your outfit 3 weeks in advance. If it doesn't feel right, take it off, put something else on. Do not let society or an event you're going to dictate how you should feel in the clothes you're wearing. Wear what is comfortable and what fits.
I wrote it down because I wanted to highlight what you're saying is comfort equals confidence. If you are comfortable, first of all, I'm thinking of the times where I've worn clothes, and I had this recently. I went to a concert and I loved the top. It was really cute, but it had this ribbing in it because I wanted to wear whatever. It ended up being the most uncomfortable top the entire night.
And you're like,
really cute. Yeah. Yeah. I was, when you're like trying to lengthen so that you don't feel it. And it was, again, it was really cute. It looked great, but I was so uncomfortable. And at the end of the night, I just couldn't wait to take it off and get out of it. And again, like that comfort equals confidence that's one of those things where I didn't fully enjoy the experience because I was so aware of how uncomfortable I was in that piece of clothing. So I love everything that you've brought up because it's so important. It's so important. Even I feel like it's the C's. It's the 3 C's. Comfort equals confidence and does not equal chafing, right? Like that's the formula. That's the formula that I'm walking away from this.
That is where I'm at.
Where it's like, let's kind of just break out of whatever, it's not even break out. I think it's an invitation. And what I'm hearing from you is very much so just an invitation to kind of question what you're wearing, question how you're feeling. And I feel like even for myself, it's that invitation of before I even look in the mirror of how does it fit? How about I put it on and I ask myself, how does it feel? And then if it feels good, we're going to continue on. If it doesn't, it's coming off and it's totally okay. So
especially women in up north, your winter clothes from last year, it's okay if they don't fit this year. You haven't worn them in a year. It's okay if they don't fit this year. It's okay to go out and buy a few. I like to buy what I call lifelong pieces. I sometimes buy them a little bit big, and that's okay. Just don't. The seasonal depression is already hard enough as it is. Okay, we're not having a great fall. It's raining every day. We're not getting our leaves turning. We're already like, oh God. Don't hurt yourself even further by going and getting last year's jumper out and it being tight. Oh well, go grab, there's some cute new jumpers, and just don't ever squeeze yourself into an outfit to fit the needs of someone else.
And I'm going to add to that. Don't let your clothes be a literal representation of how you shrink yourself in life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have been told that I am loud my whole, most talkative in 6th grade. I still remember the day. My very first boss, you need to be less you in this. I work in regulatory. And I tried. I really did. And I have found that it's all bull. It's all bull. Okay. It is all bull. And there is a reason you are the way you are. There is a reason that I'm in the industry I am. There's a reason I look the way I am. And for every day that I hid myself, that I curled up in a ball and didn't let anyone see me, I want to apologize to old Kate. I want her to know that I am going to spend every day going forward just being out there. And it means when I post on social media, you're going to see all of me. You're going to see love handles. You're going to see, I got arm wrinkles. Okay. I've got acne. I've got wrinkles. These are smile lines for the
I
record,
love
for
the
those who
smile
wonder.
lines.
I'm not embarrassed by them. And my husband works for the company that makes Botox. And I'm like, come on. It's like, you're tempting me. No, I have no problem with my smile lines, but I'm not mentally ready for the first time somebody says something negative to me about it. And that is what's so silly. I'm ready. I'm ready to tell every one of you I weigh 188 pounds. I run a steady 12-minute mile right now. I can race a 5K in under 35 minutes. I'm happy. I am semi-healthy. But if one person made a comment to me, I feel like it would all break. It would all shatter. And I would go right back to that girl who can't look in mirrors, can't eat more than 1,200 because I put too much weight on needing the affirmation from other people than I do on how I feel and tell myself how I feel.
Again, it's hard. And it's funny because I was thinking about what you said, how you're on your treadmill and you're not going out. And there's such a battle within you because you may not be going outside, but you are definitely sharing very publicly on your Instagram account.
Exactly.
So
Hiding behind a keyboard.
hiding behind a keyboard, which is interesting because even on the keyboard, you can restrict comments, right? Like on your Instagram, you can be like, no comments, we're not doing that today, but you're not doing that. And it really is a challenge because you know that when you show up authentically, or I feel when you show up authentically, the people who are going to be drawn to you and the people who are going to comment are going to be the people who are supporting you. Every now and then, maybe you'll get someone who's mean and not kind, but for the most part, you're going to have the people who support you. But it really does, you sharing that just highlights how complex it is and how there is no formula. Like you can right now say, everyone just love yourself. You can do it. And it's like, I can say that, but then I know I struggle with that too, personally, of okay, today's a day where it's like, I'm trying to feel strong and I'm trying to feel good, but I actually just feel like I'm breaking down inside, right? Like I'm trying to smile and I'm trying to like be positive, but really I want to stay in a hole and never come out. So I find that it's listening to you speak. I just want to thank you again. I think I said this in the beginning, for just speaking so openly, because there are no clear answers. There's no clear answers, and there's no direct path to being whatever your best is. Your best is what you've got today. And we kind of, right? Like you kind of go to bed at night and you think, okay, I hope that was enough. Like I think that was enough for today. So with that said, I have 2 more questions for you. And you kind of said it, but I'm going to go back because if there's anyone that's listening to this right now and maybe they're feeling what you're feeling or they're experiencing what you're feeling, what are words of kindness that you would share to all previous versions of you? Because they've all brought you to where you are right now.
Oh man, words of kindness. Honestly, I would look back at all the previous versions of Kate and I would remind her that we're doing this journey together. You know, we have been faithful to ourselves. Um, we're strong, you know, we are strong. I mean, 10 years ago, I was in a hospital bed and decisions, I was so incapacitated, decisions were being made on if I could have a brain bleed, if I would have to have a procedure, if I was even going to walk the next day. You know, that was ten years ago. I was in a hospital bed and my mom and well, Blake, but fiance at the time, were trying to decide if I was even going to get out of that bed again, you know? And now I have the choice to get out of bed every day. And I have the choice to not make that bed because I don't believe in making your bed. And that's fine, you know, but this is my journey. And my journey is mine. And I'm going to keep living it. And I'm going to bring every one of those Kates with me. And I'm going to show you that I have no regrets in life. And I have said that 100 times to 100 people. Yes, I was 300 pounds. Yes, I struggled with disordered eating. Yes, I nearly divorced my husband. Yes, thank God we got back together. There are no regrets on that timeline because it brought me to today. And every single day is a chance for me to find happiness. And I'm going to do that. I'm not saying you find what is the Sex and the City quote? You don't have to feel love every minute of every day, right? But if you can find a portion of your day every day, just a portion that you love, then you had a good day. Like I love this. This is awesome. This is my first podcast.
Hey, yeah, I try to tell myself that I'm just looking for moments, just moments. I don't need my day to be good. I just need moments in it to be good. I,
Yes.
if that's just a small reframe, right? Because we're so easy to say, oh, I had a bad day. And it's like, okay, well, what was bad about your day? And it's maybe like one or two things, or you can say like, I went to work, but it's like, okay, yeah, but you went to work, but what else happened, right? Like what else happened?
But
So
we get to go to work. That's a
yeah,
really big thing for me. My thesis was on work-life balance, and I just want to say this real quick. If you don't enjoy what you do, then, and this is a very elitist thing, but do something else. You know, work-life balance is not making sure you enjoy your life outside of work. It means enjoy your work and your life. So, you know, clocking out at 5 is great. And I hope you have a supportive manager that lets you do that. But if you enjoy your 8 hours at work, you're going to enjoy your 8 hours at home even more.
it's true. I mean, everything, your work day bleeds into home life all the time. I mean, I see
Yes.
it in my household. All right. Final question, and it's a two-parter. My questions are never simple questions.
Okay,
Where
hit
can
me.
we follow you, and what do you have coming up that we can celebrate you in?
Ooh, okay. So you can follow me on Instagram. I do have a Facebook, but I'm not, it's hi mom, it's for my mom. So if she can, she'll probably watch this. But I have you're more likely to follow me on Instagram. What do I have coming up? Okay, I will publicly declare it. I am going to try to do the Wisconsin Tri next year. And it's scary because every time I register for a try, I get injured. And sometimes I think I talk myself into the injuries, you know. So I'm going to publicly declare it. It is September 29th. If I register by tomorrow, I save money because the cost increased
Yep.
October 1st. So I'm going to tell the public right now, and I will put it on Instagram later. I'm going to do it. Um, I'm going to work with my doctors, but I'm going to train for this triathlon. I did a triathlon in May and I won first place in the Athena division. So I know I can do it. I don't know why I put this mental block up. The second I register, this block goes up. So here is my public declaration. Everybody follow along as I get ready for the Olympic distance iron or Wisconsin Tri. Let's do this. Let's do it together. No one let me talk myself out of it.
Oh, I'm not going to let you talk yourself out of it now that I know. And it's everything we do. There's such a huge mental component to it. And I just hope that as you go into registration, training, that you can create new memories during the process so that you're not thinking about doubting yourself. You're falling back on those positive memories of like, yeah, I did do that. And yeah, this is so much fun. There's a reason why you want to sign up for it. And it's not because you doubt yourself, right? Like you're not signing up because you think you can't do it. You're actually signing up because you know you can, and you like the challenge or the training or whatever the case is. So I'm totally going to hold you accountable, and I'm going to follow along too. And I'm excited to see what you do and the fact that you declared it. So now I feel like there is a little bit of pressure to declare it on your Instagram as well. So yay for this happening. All right. Any final words for us?
I just want to say one thing because you just hit on it. And I want to say one more thing to anyone out there. I used to go to start lines and cry. And I mean, shake uncontrollably because I didn't train, right? I would sign up for these races. I mean, even Disney half marathons, how much money do you pay for those? And I would stand in that corral and I would see the balloon ladies and I would be shaking uncontrollably in tears because I just didn't think I could do it. And I could, but it hurt and it was painful. So if I could give you any advice, as not a doctor, as barely a good runner, but I do run, please train. Please don't go in and just think you can do it. Training prevents injuries. And not only that, when I am consistent in my training is when I'm strongest in my mental health. My body dysmorphia is the worst when I slump. So that's just for me, but I'm just letting you guys know on those weeks where I hit all 5 of my trainings, I am golden. I am on cloud 9. So if I had one thing to say to the cyber world, please sign up for the race and train for the race.
We're going to leave it at that. All right,
yes.
everyone. We'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.